for today, November 18th. Thank you all for being here. I detect a quorum with myself present, Councilmember Allen present, Benedict, Horton present, Councilmember Vo present, Councilmember Chair, Vice Chair Rutherford present, Councilmember Coopin present. All right, I detect a quorum, so we will get started. There is no one signed up for public comment. And without objection, we will move forward with the consent agenda. I'll read out the numbers for the consent agenda, and then if anything needs to be pulled off, please let me know before we get into the captions. The consent agenda starts with resolution number 1, RS 2024-872. Bills on second reading, BL 2024-599, 600, 601, 602, 603, 604, 605, 606, 607. Bills on third reading, BL 2023-99, 100, BL 2024 559, 560, 561, 562, 563, 564, 565, 566, 567, 568, 569, 571, 570, no, 574 has an amendment, 576, 577, 578, 579, 580, and 593. Does anything need to be pulled off of the consent agenda? All right. With no objections, we will move forward with the captions. Starting with Resolution RS 2024-872, Parker Gamble amends ordinance number BL 2024-202 to authorize the Metropolitan Government to modify the linear feet of sanitary sewer mains and quality of sewer manholes to be abandoned and accepted to accept additional sanitary sewer main and up-to-date map and parcel information for now 3 properties located at 101 Berry Street and 660B and 661 B. Joseph Street, also known as River Chase Apartments, Revision 1. Bills on second reading, BL 2024-599, Parker, Porterfield, Gadd, and others approves a Greenway Conservation easement between the Metropolitan Board of Parks and Recreation and Keith A. Munson and Clove Warren Munson for Greenway improvements at 135 Kingston Street. BL 2024-600, Parker, Porterfield, Gadd, and others approves a Greenway Conservation easement between the Metropolitan Board of Parks and Recreation and Oldham Prop Company, LLC, for Greenway improvements at 304 Oldham Street. BL 2024-601, Porterfield, Gadd, Gamble, and others approves a Greenway Conservation easement between the Metropolitan Board of Parks and Recreation and Elizabeth Homes Owner Association for Greenway improvements at 1813 Elizabeth Road. BL 2024-602, Porterfield, Gadd, Gamble, and others approves a Greenway Conservation easement between the Metropolitan Board of Parks and Recreation and 1811 Elizabeth Road Owners Association for Greenway improvements at 1811 Elizabeth Road. BL 2024-603, Porterfield, Gamble, Parker authorizes the granting of permanent easements, temporary construction easements, and access to easements to Piedmont Natural Gas Company on certain properties owned by the Metropolitan Government located at 1591, 1595, and 1599 Emerald Drive. BL 2024-604, Porterfield, Gadd, Gamble, Parker authorizes the granting of permanent and temporary construction easements to Piedmont Natural Gas Company on certain property owned by the Metropolitan Government located at 0 West Hamilton Avenue. BL 2024-605, Parker Gamble, an ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to acquire permanent and temporary easements through negotiation, condemnation, and acceptance for the Jules Street Stormwater Improvement Project for 2 properties located at 1705 Jules Street and 920 Cherokee Avenue. BL 2024-606, Coop and Gamble Parker authorized the Metropolitan Government to abandon easement rights located at 701 7th Avenue South, formerly a portion of alley number 160. BL 2024-607, Toombs Gamble Parker, authorizing Metropolitan Government to accept new public water and sanitary sewer mains, fire hydrant assemblies, sanitary sewer manholes, and easements for property located at 3051 Stokers Lane, also known as Stokers Village Phase 1. Bills on third reading, Bill 2023-99 Taylor, amends Title 17 Metropolitan Code of Laws, of zoning ordinance of Metropolitan Government by changing from R6 to SP for property located on Clarksville Pike, unnumbered approximately 600 feet northwest of Rosa L. Parks Boulevard to permit 590 multifamily residential units. BL 2023-100 Taylor authorizes building material restrictions and requirements for BL 2023-99, a proposed specific plan zoning district located at Clarksville Pike, approximately 600 feet northwest of Rosa L. Parks Boulevard. BL 2024-599, Parker Taylor amends Title 17 of Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government by applying a detached accessory dwelling unit overlay district to various properties located south of Douglas Avenue, north of West Eastland Avenue, and west of Gallatin Avenue, zoned RS5, R6, and RS6A, all of which is described herein. Bill 2024-560 Huffman amends Title 17 of Metropolitan Code of Laws, zoning ordinance of Metropolitan Government by changing from R10 to RM9 to SP zoning for properties located at 605 Stewart's Ferry Pike and Stewart's Ferry Pike unnumbered at the northwest corner of Stewart's Ferry Pike and Lauder Drive to permit a mixed-use development. BL 2024-561 Huffman authorizes building material restrictions and requirements for BL 2024-560, a proposed specific plan zoning district for properties located at 605 Stewart's Ferry Pike and Stewart's Ferry Pike unnumbered. BL 2024-562 Welch amends Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of Metropolitan Government by changing from RS5 to R6A zoning for property located at 2301 Foster Avenue at the southwest corner of Oriole Avenue and Foster Avenue. BL 2024-563 Hancock amends Title 17 of Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of Metropolitan Government by changing from OR 20 to MULA zoning for properties located at 117 Neely's Bend Road, 400 feet east of Gallatin Pike. Bill 2024-564 Kimbrough amends Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government by changing from RS10 to R10 zoning for property located at 1808 Manchester Avenue, approximately 35 feet east of Hydes Ferry Road. Bill 2024-565 Parker amends Title 17 of Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of Metropolitan Government by changing from IWD to SP zoning for property located at 800 Dickerson Pike, approximately 325 feet north of Gray Street, to permit a hospital use. BL 2024-566 Parker authorizes building material restrictions and requirements for BL 2024-565, a proposed specific plan zoning district for property located at 800 Dickerson Pike, approximately 325 feet north of Gray Street. BL 2024-567 Huffman amends Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of Metropolitan Government by changing from CS to SP zoning for property located at 3525 Central Pike, approximately 325 feet west of Stoner's Bend Drive, to permit a self-storage facility. BL 2024-568 Huffman authorizes building material restrictions and requirements for BL 2024-567, a proposed specific plan zoning district for property located at 3525 Central Pike, approximately 325 feet west of Stoner's Bend Drive. BL 2024-569 Welch amends Title 17 of Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of Metropolitan Government by changing from RS5 to R6A zoning for property located at 305 Joyner Avenue, approximately 450 feet east of Nolensville Pike. BL 2024-571 Kimbrough amends Title 17 of Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of Metropolitan Government by changing from SP to R10 zoning for properties located at River Drive, approximately 165 feet northeast of River Court. BL 2024-574 Rutherford amends Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of, no, there's amendment on that one. BL 2024-575, 576 Toombs amends Title 17 of Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government by changing from RS 7.5 to SP zoning for properties located at 847 and 865 West Trinity Lane, approximately 102 feet west of Horizon Drive, to permit 250 multifamily residential units. BL 2020 Substitute Bill 2024-577 Toombs authorizes building materials restrictions and requirements for Bill 2024-576, a proposed specific plan zoning district for properties located at 847 and 865 West Trinity Lane. Bill 2024-578 Horton amends Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws and Zoning Ordinance of Metropolitan Government by changing from CS to MULANS zoning for property located at 5502 New York Avenue at the northwest corner of Centennial Boulevard and New York Avenue. Bill 2024-579 Parker amends Title 17 Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of Metropolitan Government by changing from RS10 to R10 zoning for property located at 224 Whitney Park Drive, approximately 215 feet north of Hart Lane. Bill 2024-580 Benedict amends Title 17 of Metropolitan Code of Laws and zoning ordinance of Metropolitan Government by changing from RS15 to R15 zoning for properties located at 727 Hart Lane, 731, 735, 737, 741 Saunders Court, 3816, 3820, 3822, 3824, 3828, 3836, 3838, and 3840 Saunders Avenue at the northwest corner of Saunders Court and Saunders Avenue. And BL 2024-593 Styles amends ordinance number BL 2024-490 by adding a building material restriction and authorized building material restrictions and requirements for project approved by BL 2024-490, a specific zone plan zoning district located at 12610 Old Hickory Boulevard and Old Hickory Boulevard unnumbered, approximately 655 feet east of Hobson Pike. May I have a motion for the consent agenda? Moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? With no discussion, all in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, thank you. All right, consent agenda approves, 9 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. Now going back to the items not on consent, starting with number 13 on your agenda. Oh, no, we did approve that. Starting with number, oh, okay, it is 13. I thought we put that one on there. That, I was correct. Number 13, substitute BL 2024-586 Toombs, amends Title 17 of Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of Metropolitan Government by changing from RS 7.5 to SP zoning for property located at 520 Ewing Drive, approximately 375 feet west of Gwenwood Drive, to permit 56 multifamily residential units. May I have a motion? Moved and properly seconded. There is a letter by Councilmember Toombs to approve, and I will sign on to the amendment. I don't need to sign on? Okay, great. Okay, great. So we don't need to sign on, but if we could get an explanation of the amendment from the director or the planning table, that would be great.
This for Tim?
Yes.
The amendment merely requires that the multifamily units on the property be detached.
All right, thank you. So amendments adds that the multifamily be detached. Any, Councilmember Allen?
Thank you. Can I just get an explanation of what detached multifamily means?
Sure. So the way that our zoning code defines multifamily is 3 or more units located within a single building or 3 or more units located on a single lot. And so we have a lot of what may appear to be single family homes, but they're actually multifamily because it's multiple units on one lot. And so it would just be like that, multiple units on one lot that are not attached in any way.
So like big four squares that actually have 4 separate units in them or something like that?
That's attached. I mean, that's like,
okay.
I live in what you just described, a multifamily, one building that has multiple units. This would be one lot that has multiple buildings.
Okay, no.
With a single unit in each.
So this lot is divided into a number, I mean, this parcel, I don't even know what the word, this project is divided into lots of lots.
The project is a bunch of different units on one lot. They are not subdivided onto individual lots. And so that
Okay.
is detached multifamily.
But it would look like single family, it sounds like.
Essentially, but it is not classified as single family. To be classified as single family in our zoning code, it has to be on an individual subdivided lot.
Subdivided
And
lot.
so it is not classified as single family. Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for letting me do that back and forth. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on Bill 2024-486? Without further discussion, all those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, and do we need to take the bill as amended? Yes, and now we'll take the bill as amended. Well, we already seconded. Thank you. Moved and properly seconded. Any discussion on the bill as amended? Without further discussion, all those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to number 26 on your agenda, BL 2024-570 by Councilmember Hancock. There is a letter to approve. I'll read the caption. Amends Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of metropolitan government by changing from CN to R15 zoning for properties located at 1532, 1536, 1538 Neely's Bend Road and Neely's Bend Road unnumbered, approximately 90 feet north of Neely's Bend Court. May I have a motion? Moved and properly seconded, and we will, there's a substitute. Would someone please move the substitute? Moved and properly seconded, and if we can get an explanation from the planning table on the substitute.
The substitute just changes it from R to RS.
Okay. So the substitute changes the request from R to RS. Oh,
Yes.
okay. RS 15?
Yes.
Okay. Councilmember Benedict.
Thank you. To the planning table, Chair, if I may.
Yes.
What was approved by the Planning Commission, R or RS?
The Planning Commission recommended approval of R because that's what the application was filed for. So we did not consider RS. We considered what was filed, and that was R 15.
Thank you.
Follow-up question. What was the impetus for the substitute to change to RS? Do we have an explanation on that?
I believe it was the desire of the council member in consultation with the neighbors that they only wanted to see one dwelling unit on per lot.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that explanation. Any other discussion? All right. Without further discussion, we're ready for a vote on the substitute. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Now on the bill as substituted. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to number 28 on the agenda, BL 2024-574 by Councilmember Vice Chair Rutherford, amends Title 17 of Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of metropolitan government by changing from AR2A to SP zoning for properties located at 7102 Burkett Road and 7216 Old Burkett Road at the northeast corner of Old Burkett Road and Burkett Road to permit 288 multifamily residential units. Councilmember Rutherford, would you like to move your bill? Oh, I'm sorry. There you go.
Yes, Chair, I'd like to move the bill and move the amendment.
All right. Moved and properly seconded. We'll hear from you on your amendment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The amendment includes 8 items. All of this came from community engagement that took place since second reading public hearing. There was a community meeting, and these items include things that all improve the overall project, but it's some additional lighting. It includes protection of the historical marker that is actually on the adjacent property, but very, very near the property boundary. It also calls for the planting of native species It limits the dwelling size of each unit, or unit size, I should say, by square footage to 590. It increases a buffer along the northwest boundary. Again, all improvements to the overall project that came about from community engagement since the public hearing.
Thank you, Vice Chair Rutherford, and thank you for your hard work in working in an amendment to address concerns expressed by the community. Councilmember Allen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate all the work that's gone into this over an extended period of time. Just want to make sure we get a couple of other things that have been addressed on the record. There were some references in the letter from the neighbors about infrastructure, and if the council member, if I can ask a couple of questions. First one is if the council member can address the statements that are made regarding traffic and infrastructure improvements.
Thank you, Vice Chair Rutherford.
Certainly, this plan calls for improvements of Old Burkett Road, which is what it fronts on. Old Burkett Road is a very short road, but it's very narrow. So it will be widened and improved and will include a crosswalk, which will make this development walkable to Nolensville Road, which it's only really a few yards off of Nolensville Road. It will also connect to an adjacent property that we recently approved for a townhome development. So that whole area will be walkable when this is done. Another concern that has been raised in terms of transportation and traffic is the widening project of Nolensville Road, which kind of has a lot of us tied up in that area now. And of course, that's going to be great when it's done. But this project won't actually break ground for another year. It won't be completed for at least 3 years. And so that's going to be a changed area by that time. I think it's also worth noting the fact that since we just passed the new transit plan, the 52 route that goes down Nolensville Road will be extended. So we're talking about building density within just a few yards of Nolensville Road, all walkable ultimately to mass transit if we can get the Nolensville Road route extended to this area. And that's part of the overall plan. So this is what we're looking for. This is density on major thoroughfare, walkable to mass transit.
Thank you, Councilmember Rutherford. Councilmember Allen?
2 or 3 more questions, if I might. So there were also some other infrastructure questions just about, is there sufficient water, power, and the schools and fire and police, and if those could be addressed.
Councilmember?
Yes, I can add that we have a planned fire station for Pettis Road, which is very close to this area. It is the first new build that is on the wish list of the fire department. So hopefully that will be coming in the next few years. The new police station that's on Murfreesboro Road that is coming will help the South Precinct, which covers this territory, to have less territory to cover. And so hopefully that will improve response times in the area. So public safety obviously is a major concern throughout the Southeast, but in this area in particular, and that is being addressed. But in terms of schools, this particular development is for studios and 1 and 2 bedrooms. So there are no 3-bedroom units. In previous developments of this size that do not include 3-bedroom units, we have found that they produce a very small number of students as opposed to developments that have 3-bedroom units that are more conducive to families. So the impact on our schools in terms of new students will be very minimal.
Thank you. Councilmember Allen?
Thank you. And then there was, you mentioned something about lighting, and there was a request about dark skies, which, as you know, is near and dear to my heart. And I remember seeing something in the amendment about specifically where lights are aimed. So if lights were aimed, if that one could be spoken to.
Councilmember?
Yes, the very first item in this is lighting on the site shall be oriented towards the center of the property and away from adjacent properties. This actually comes from something not necessarily directly related to dark skies, but it's still impactful because we had a development that had this issue where lights were basically pointed towards other nearby developments and neighborhoods. And so we've had to address that issue after the fact. And so this is where we're trying to head that off to not have that situation occur again.
Then
Thank you.
Thank
And Councilmember Allen?
final question. Trees is another issue that is specifically addressed here, and would just like to get that on the record as well. There were requests about getting rid of invasive species and planting native species, and I think that was in the amendment. And then increasing the buffer, and I think there was a 40-foot buffer added in the amendment. And then also, there was one question about why their trees needed to be removed in the right-of-way on the north. So if I could get an answer to that.
Yes, the larger trees on this property will be protected. There will be some smaller trees that'll have to be removed to make room for the construction. But there's actually an already existing tree line boundary, if you will, between this property and the adjacent church property that includes a trail system. And so this buffer will protect that. So there will be a thicker tree line, if you will, along where that trail is. That will be preserved and protected. And so we've added some additional buffer to make sure that that's not encroached upon.
Thank you. I appreciate the responses, and I know how hard the council members worked on this, and I appreciate the amendment to address these issues.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further questions, discussion? Without further discussion, we will vote on the amendment first. All those in favor of the amendment, please say aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Now on the bill as amended, can we take 575 with that? And we'll take 575, the companion bill with that, for building material restrictions and requirements. All those in favor of 574 as amended and 575, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. I believe that concludes our agenda. Okay. 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 The one with the amendment? Okay. Just to be safe, we'll go back to number 14 on the agenda. We approved substitute bill 2024-486 as amended, but didn't include these a companion bill for building restrictions, building material restrictions and requirements, substitute bill 2024-487. So we'll go back and vote on that at this time. May I have a motion to move the bill?
Move approval.
Moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? With no further discussion, all those in favor of Bill 2024-487, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Now, that concludes our agenda. At this time, we'll have a brief presentation by the Planning Department on community engagement and zoning. We look forward to continuing to engage the community when it comes to zoning and other issues regarding housing as we continue to address affordable housing in the city. And this presentation will give us some best practices done across in Nashville as well as in other cities to address those concerns. Appreciate you all being here. Do you need a...
I do have a few slides. I think that Matthew is trying to see if he can get those displayed. It's hooked up.
Clerk too. Baycock substituted 10. I'd say 28. I think Harold came in at number 28. Oh, okay. So it's still there. Oh, okay. I'm glad you, okay. Okay.
Why, what's your?
Thank you for your patience while we're getting the slide presentation going. It's just a few minutes.
Apologies, everyone. So we're working to get, I got a new laptop and apparently it's not communicating now with the hook-ins that I have been hooking into for years. So today I wanted to focus primarily on text amendments and talking about the text amendment process. This is something that we have had ongoing discussions about internally as a department and with the council office. And so just talking a little bit about the process for text amendments. So first of all, just as a reminder that all of the powers that we have are given to us by the state through Tennessee Code Annotated. Title 13 is the title that specifically deals with planning and zoning. Title 13, in regards to amendments to the zoning code, essentially says that a legislative body may from time to time amend the contents of the zoning code. But that any amendments must first be submitted to the Planning Commission for review and recommendation. The Planning Commission itself recently updated rules and procedures regarding text amendment review at the Planning Commission level, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit next.
If we could have it quiet just a little bit so we all can hear. Thank you.
So just some statistics in the current term, there have been 22 text amendments that have been assigned a case number. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that all of them have moved forward. 7 of those 22 have been withdrawn. One was received a case number from planning and then was not filed. Receiving a case number from us is sort of a requirement before it gets filed. 8 have been approved by council. 4 have been recommended for approval by the Planning Commission, and those are working through council now. And 1 has been introduced but not yet considered by the Planning Commission. And so my team tracks all of those text amendments. Some of them I think are probably what would be considered relatively minor housekeeping amendments. Others are more complex. And so that's one of the things about text amendments is that generally they are all relatively complex. The Planning Commission recently adopted an update to the rules and procedures, and that amendment was related to the review of text amendments. So with the updated rules, text amendments will be required to be on 2 separate Planning Commission agendas. The first appearance would be a presentation from staff. There would be a staff report, a presentation from staff, a public hearing, and discussion by the Planning Commission. And then the public hearing would be closed. At the second appearance, the planning staff would provide any update to the Planning Commission on any changes that have taken place or update on any research that the Planning Commission asked for, or any analysis back to the Planning Commission, and then the Planning Commission would make a recommendation at that second appearance. This allows for complex matters to be considered more thoroughly by the Planning Commission. It is not unusual for planning staff to write a staff report, to do review and analyze, write a staff report, but then for something to come up during the public hearing or during discussion from the Planning Commission that needs further analysis, further research, or further information. And because the Planning Commission is charged by Tennessee Code Annotated with reviewing and making a recommendation, that it's imperative that they have time and all of the information needed in order to be able to fulfill that, that requirement that they're charged with. For the Planning Commission text review, again, zoning ordinance amendments are often complex. Staff needs to review those for unintended consequences. We also need to review for other triggers in the code that may need to be updated. One of the things the way that I have sort of described, and have probably said it to some of you all in this room, is that often code amendments, there's tentacles that go through the entire zoning code. So you make what is a seemingly small change, but you need to make sure that there aren't other changes that you then need to make to the code so that everything is still aligned. Another thing that the planning department tries to do, if we're sort of the drafter of a text amendment, is engage with stakeholders early in the process. We prefer before anything has been filed. Stakeholders, of course, need to represent all sides of an issue. We went through a recent drafting of the conservation development standards, and that included 2 different stakeholder meetings that we met with separately, and then we brought those stakeholders all together for one bigger meeting. And those stakeholders included tree advocates, they also included development community, engineers, and so we try to take a really broad look to make sure that we're not missing any viewpoints in the drafting. Some other examples where there has been extensive stakeholder engagement was, of course, with the sidewalk ordinance that Vice Mayor Henderson was really carried through the council when she was a council member. And so it's important that we're having those conversations early in the process and that we're touching as many points that we can during that engagement process so that we're not behind when it gets to council in regards to trying to answer those questions. So that's all that I have. Oh, I didn't mean to exit out. There we go. So that's all that I really have, but I'm happy to answer any questions. We did, of course, think about the council rules when we were looking at our rule amendment. And there is a council requirement that when legislation is filed, that we have a certain amount of time to review and make a recommendation. And in most cases, if a bill is introduced here, say at the first meeting of this month, let's say if a bill is introduced the first meeting of November and then it comes back to you all for the first meeting in December, there's a rule that basically says you can't have a public hearing until there's a recommendation from the Planning Commission or 30 days has passed. And in most cases, the time between the introduction and public hearing is less than 30 days. And so your rule would sort of anticipate a deferral. So that typically will allow planning to work through and have these two meetings the way that we have outlined it in our rules. There may be some instances where that doesn't necessarily work, and then we would be just coordinating with individual council members to work through that process.
Thank you. So we'll open it up at this time for any questions that anyone may have. I'll get us started with the rule change that has recently been approved by the Planning Commission that requires two hearings, one public hearing, but two hearings for text amendment at the commission prior to moving forward. Can you tell us when that rule will take effect?
It is in effect now. You will probably notice in a couple of upcoming staff reports, we had recently, Councilmember Gamble is sponsoring a text amendment now that is a clerical correction where when the two-story overlay was filed, it refers to the detached accessory dwelling unit overlay, where it should refer to the two-story overlay. When we wrote that staff report to the Planning Commission, we said, we recommend approval. This is clearly a clerical error, and we would suggest that the Planning Commission make an exception to that rule, which they have the ability to do. And so they did not hold that one to the two meetings because it really simply was a clerical error. So there is the ability for the Planning Commission from time to time to make exceptions, and we recommended that they do so in that case. But yes, it is in effect now.
Thank you. Councilmember Benedict.
Thank you. Just to clarify on that last part, so the commission has the ability within their rules to not take it up for a second time. They can go ahead and in one evening both have the hearing and take action on it without the deferral.
The Planning Commission, much like your rules allow you all can ask for a rule suspension. The Planning Commission rules and procedures outline that from time to time that they can make exceptions to their own rules. We would likely only recommend that in limited instances when it is something like a clerical error, but their rules do, much like yours, allow for an exception.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? All right. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Sorry about the tech problems, but I'll have to get my computer worked on.
No problem. We appreciate the work you all are doing and appreciate the insight on text amendments, community engagement. And if anyone has any other questions after this meeting, please feel free to reach out to the planning staff for clarification on anything that we heard today. All right. Without further ado, our meeting is adjourned. Thank you.